はい、ムーンライトセッションズ、満月の夜に会いましょう。今日は第3回目です。今月のテーマは、多読による英語学習の仕方、スキルの本の作り方、多読による英語学習の仕方です。お楽しみにしてください。
Hello, welcome to the third session of the GEG Nagoya Moonlight Session. Today, our guest speaker is Andy Boone, and he's going to be talking about creating a series of graded readers. Enjoy the show.
はい、今日の内容ですが、まず最初に、アンディ・ブーン先生のお話を聞きます。それから GEG リーダーからデモスラムを3つやります。まず、その前にまず GEG とはということで、GEG の説明をしたいと思います。
So before we get into Dr. Boone's presentation on graded readers, we're going to tell you a little bit about what GEG does. So give me a moment, everybody, to share my screen here. And we'll tell you just very briefly a little bit about what we do.
GEG
名
古屋の活動についてお話ししたいと思います。GEG 名古屋では、オンラインのワークショップ、エドキャンプ、パブナイト、それから認定教育者レベル1の勉強会、それから GEG APAC アジア地区のイベントに参加をしています。
So what we do at Google Educator Groups, and in particular Google Educator Groups Nagoya, we do online workshops. We partner with EdCamp Nagoya, which is a cool event where teachers get together and decide the topics of conversation on the day. And we do want to do an online version of that soon, so keep your eyes out to our webpage. We do pub nights, and we have an online pub night coming up. We lead Google Certified Educator Study Groups for those who would like to get certification for professional development for you and your institution. And there is a Google Educator Group Asia Pacific group where we do online events with people from all around the Asia Pacific region. And if you look at the image on the right, all the blue are places in Japan where we have Google Educator Groups. 右の方に見たら、日本の中で GEG がある場所ということです。
はい、たくさん増えました。
ですね。はい、
次の写真は、それぞれのイベントについての、写真です。このような活動をしているので、ぜひ皆さん参加してください。
Yeah, our events, whether we're face-to-face or online, we try to have events with a theme. For example, on the left, we've got, an EdCamp event where we partnered with EdCamp and ETJ, English Teachers Japan, in particular, ETJ Aichi chapter. Wonderful group to work with. Check out ETJ Aichi, please. And in the middle, online, and on the left, it was a student voice event. These are the kind of things we like to do.
はい、ホームページを見たり、また Twitter、Facebook でフォローしていただいたり、参加してイベントに今日のようなイベントに参加していただいたり、また、GEG APAC アジア地区のイベントにも皆さん参加してください。
So you can get in touch with us at GEG Nagoya. We are gegnagoya@gmail.com, but you can follow us or join us on Twitter and Facebook with the same name. We would love for you to present at our events. This is not about just the leaders of this group, but we want the community to share their knowledge and experience to make it a truly enriching environment for all of us. And we also encourage you to join us and GEG Asia Pacific. We are planning an event for the end of summer 2021, where we will have up to 12 languages or hopefully more, where people are going to present on anything in educational technology and anything in education in general. So please look out for GEG APAC.
はい、 じゃあ、このような Twitter、Facebook、ウェブサイトになってますので、よろしくお願いします。
And we will post these in the comments, so we'd love to hear from you. Also, GEG Asia Pacific Connect. If you go to the hashtag Twitter, GEG APAC, or if you go to the Google site, which we'll post in the comments on YouTube tonight, we would love for you to connect with more people in the region. So, handing over to you, Steve.
Okay, let's invite Dr. Andy Boone. They always say he's someone who needs no introduction, but I'm going to read the introduction anyway. The session will describe the process involved in conducting an extensive reading project to write a series of graded readers with the aim of introducing language learners to 10 useful ways they can use to develop 30 different life skills. They'll also explain how eBook graded readers can be used to help learners when studying remotely. I had the opportunity to read some of his books, and they're just wonderful. And he'll tell you himself, but I thought he might not sing his own praises. They're a great way to use extensive readers in the classroom. We're always looking for a purpose, how we can use them. And so I'm really looking forward to Dr. Boone's presentation. There you go.
Myself as well. で、クネさん、お願いします。
ブーン博士のセッションでは、多読プロジェクトについて説明します。また、リモートで学習する際に学習者を支援する方法についても説明します。じゃあ、次のスライドでもう少し詳しい、ブーン先生の、紹介をします。東洋学園大学人文科学部の教授です。彼は日本で20年以上教鞭をとっていて、アストン大学で博士号を所得しています。彼の研究は誰でも参加できる環境での学習者のサポートと発見に焦点を当てています。彼は2004年から日本言語教育協会の積極的なメンバーであり、数多くの会議で発表し、教師の育成、動機づけ、方法論に関する記事を発表しています。楽しみです。今日はよろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
はい。
And see if you can introduce Dr. Boone. We could use the slides or you can go on your own.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, should I share my slides?
Yeah. I missed what you just said, Nate. You want me to do the introduction for Dr. Boone?
Dr. Boone can introduce himself. I think let me just stop sharing the slides and
okay, go ahead.
Just have to remove ourselves and Dr. Boone, please. We have quite a number of comments in the YouTube comments right now, so we'll get to you in just a moment as Dr. Boone presents the screen here. Hold on one moment. And Dr. Boone, you're good to go.
Okay, everyone can see me? Okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me today to talk about the life skills readers. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is start by talking about what extensive reading is. Now, I was first introduced to extensive reading about 15 years ago. And as a language teacher here in Japan, in an EFL situation where students are learning English as a foreign language, and once they finish with their language class, they go out back into the Japanese world. I thought extensive reading was an excellent way for students to be able to get exposure to the language outside of the classroom and also inside of the classroom. Now, for those of you who don't know what extensive reading is, it's students reading in English at a level which is appropriate to their current proficiency. Extensive reading graded readers are leveled regarding vocabulary and grammar. And the aim of extensive reading is that students read for fluency, they read a lot, and they read for fun. And fun is the most important word because we want our students to become motivated. And the thrill of being able to read a book in a foreign language from the beginning to the end is very, very motivational. In Japanese, extensive reading is tadoku. ta meaning oi, a lot, and doku meaning yomu, to read. So it means to read a lot. And in the traditional language classroom, maybe when we teach students reading, they look at very dense text and maybe they have to translate it into their own language. Well, extensive reading is about just reading for fun, reading for pleasure. When I started to write graded readers, I wrote a lot of fiction, and I've written a business series as well. And looking at the graded readers that are on the market, there's a lot of fiction, there's a lot of literary classics that have been adapted to make it easier for learners. There's a lot of film adaptations, but there was nothing on life skills. And life skills are so important for young adults entering into the world, into the 21st century. And what we wanted to do was to create a series that would not only help students to learn English and to become more confident in their reading fluency, but also would teach them essential life skills for how to cope with the myriad of stress in everyday life. So the first thing that we did was to decide the theme would be life skills. I was working with the publisher Halico, who the CEO is Darren Halliday. So a big shout out to Darren, and thank you for letting us do this series. The first thing was to research many different life skills. And what I did was come up with a list of about 50 life skills that are essential for young learners or young adults. And from that list, I sent it to the publisher, Darren. And the original project was to write 20 readers only. Now we have increased the series to 30, and hot off the press, we are writing 10 more. So this will be a series of 40 readers. So it's going to be a huge series. So I sent the list to Darren of 50 readers, and he decided the first 20 titles. And you can see the range of titles here for the first 10. So you've got work-life balance, which is an essential life skill, something that I need to learn myself. How do you achieve work-life balance? Ways to be productive, ways to manage money. So money is so important. It shouldn't be, everything in life, but we need to learn how to manage it. Love is also important. So to how to be successful in love, to be assertive, to be confident, to be smart online, to be environmentally friendly, different ways to be healthy, ways to work in a team, ways to organize a trip. These were the first 10 readers. Now, at the start of the project, the first thing that I wanted to do was to write a model reader. And this would be the framework for the whole series. So for the writers and for the readers, it will have the same structure, the same framework. The first stage was to research the skill, to research the way. One thing that I did was read a lot on the internet about different ways to achieve work-life balance. And I am very, very blessed with lots of really wonderful Facebook friends. And I often crowdsource on Facebook for my books. And I asked my Facebook friends, can you think of ways to achieve work-life balance? And of course, I got lots of wonderful comments. I took a lot of notes on the theme of work-life balance. Then the next step was to go through the notes and start to categorize, to build all of the comments into themes or ways, and try and build up to categories and to determine 10 ways. Once I had the 10 ways to achieve work-life balance, then I could start the writing process. Each of the 10 ways follows the same format. There is a short introduction of about 200 words. It introduces the theme of the book. At the end of the introduction, we engage the reader. Stop and think about your life. Do you need to achieve work-life balance? Do you have work-life balance in your life? And so we address the reader and encourage them to read on to learn more about 10 ways. The idea about separating the reader into 10 discrete ways, it makes it more manageable for English learners because you're reading a short 10 way. Each way is around about 150 to 200 words only. And what we have done with the 10 ways is to make sure that the language is lower than the Cepher B1 scale. That's a common European language framework scale. And we run all of the text through a vocabulary profiler. And if a word is higher than B1, we have two choices. We either change the word to an easier word, or we feature it in a 20-word list, which is an addition to B1 level. So students can then read 10 discrete ways. Makes it easier. You read one way. Okay, I've done my English reading for today. I'm going to read the second way tomorrow. And they can read it step by step. At the end of each of the readers, there is a summary which reviews the 10 ways and then leaves the reader with this powerful message about how to achieve work-life balance or whatever the life skill may be. At the end of the reader, there's a series of reflection questions. The first question, can you remember the ways? The second question, do you do these ways in your life already? The third question, are you going to change your life because of what you have read in this book? And the final question, can you think of other ways that were mentioned in the book? So for a language teacher using the books in the classroom, you could use the reflection questions to generate discussion on life skills. You could even get the students to research online to find more ways that were not mentioned in the book. If you're doing pure extensive reading, there should really be no vocabulary learning. Now that's controversial. In pure extensive reading, if you come across a word you don't know, you read around it and you keep reading. However, what we've done, as I mentioned, we've featured 20 words that were out of the scale of B1. What we've done at the end of the book, we've put these words into context. So what that means is we've featured the word in a sentence in which it appears in the book. So students can get another chance to read the words around it and try and guess the meaning of the word. Then at the end, there's a vocabulary list with the word, the type of word, whether it's a noun or an adjective, and a definition. So all of the 10 ways follows this pattern. So my job as series editor and writer was to create the first model reader, which then other writers in the series could use as a guide. So the next step was building and managing the team. What we wanted to do, because it would be too much for me to write the books by myself, we wanted to bring in writers. Luckily, I've got a great network of friends, and I wrote a call for writers, and I sent to a few discrete friends who I thought would be appropriate for writing 10 ways. I'd worked with them on a different project where I wasn't series editor, and they agreed to write. So we had Kyle, we had Katrina, and we had Leslie as the other writers. The first thing that I did once they had agreed to come on board was to send them the list of life skills that we wanted to feature in the first 20 series. And then they decided how many books they could write. And I gave them first choice of which books they wanted to choose from the list. And then I picked up the remaining titles there. We created a private Facebook group so that we could comment, we could give each other motivation to keep writing, we could share tips on writing, and that Facebook group was a great way to communicate during the project. When writers wrote their first draft, they would send it to me, and I would use Microsoft Word, and I would use track changes, and I would make changes. Basically, I would run their text through a vocabulary profiler, And if they had used words which are outside of B1, I would flag the words. If the sentence was rather long, I may break it into two parts. So for example, if there's a subordinate clause, I may break it and make two separate sentences to make the reading and the grammar easier for the student. It's a very tricky thing to start playing around with people's writing, and you have to be respectful to keep their original meaning of the writing. And it's a process of negotiation with the team members. I got on really well with the team. We worked really well together. Once I'd gone through and done track changes on their draft, I would send back their Word document, and we would go through about 4 or 5 different drafts before it was finished, and then I would send to Darren for publishing. We got the books published. We have them in paper format. We also have them as ebooks, which is fantastic. They're available on Amazon, on X-Reading, on Halico Online, Maruzen, Kinokuniya. They're available through many outlets. And once we did the first 20, because they were popular, we decided to get together to write another 30. So the first 20 titles are in paper and ebook format, but the 21 to 30 are only available in ebook format. And if I can click on to the Halico website, hopefully you can see this. Here is the list of the full 30 books, and you can see the range of different life skills here. What I've gone on to do, and this is an interesting way of using the readers. Last semester at university, I was asked to teach a presentation and debate course. Rather than choosing a textbook, I decided to build a course around some of the 10 Ways books. So students would read the 10 Ways books for homework, but they would use the themes of the book for their presentation or their debate. And the books I used were Work-Life Balance, Be Successful in Love, Working in a Team, Being Environmentally Friendly, and I can't remember Being Productive. So I used 5 of the books and built a whole 1 semester course around these books. And that was very, very exciting. And I think these books can be used in many, many ways. So let me come out of my PowerPoint. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them. So I will stop sharing my screen and come back. And one thing I couldn't do while I was sharing my screen, I do have the 20 readers in front of me. So you can see what they look like in paper format, but they're also available in ebook format as well.
Wow. Nate, you're still muted.
Make sure we're all unmuted here. Yep. So one of the very last slides, somebody had posted that it's a little bit small to see, but we let them know that we're going to share your links. We'll do it. We'll share links to Dr. Boone's work, and what I thought was awesome is that you shared your team. Not only did you say that you were working with other people, but you actually named them. And acknowledge that this is a team, project kind of thing. I think that's important. So we will post Dr. Boone and his team, links to, the resources that you can find. We'll put it on Facebook, Twitter, and on our website. So just wait a little bit, and we'll get there. A little bit, meaning like within 3 hours or a day, kind of thing. So we do have a number of questions. We're going to turn them over to Steve.
Okay, I was going to read the one that I noticed starting from the bottom was from Cassie. She was interested in the word and the vocab profiler that you use to evaluate whether the vocabulary is under B1 or not. Do you have a particular one that you use?
Yeah, I use something called Vocabulary Kitchen. I can show it. I would need to share my screen again.
Of course,
Okay,
easy peasy.
if I can do that.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Just give us a moment here.
Okay.
For some reason, I cannot minimize my screen here, and there we go.
Okay, brilliant. So I am working on a, just let me go to, actually I better do one that I've done before. Okay, just let me, no, that's not it. Okay, just so you can see. Okay, so I'm going to take the start of 10 ways to achieve work-life balance. So when you've written a section of text, you just put it through here, and just let me put that there. And you have a choice of different profiles. You've got the academic word list, the new academic word list, but we're using the Common European Framework of Reference for Language. Click on here. Hopefully this will work. And you can see straight away that A1 words, the easiest words are in blue, A2 is green, B1 is yellow. Anything that is higher than B1, we're going to feature. So balance is a featured word in the book. Sometimes the B1 words we may also feature. So for example, in this book, we featured achieve as well. So it's using kind of like teacher intuition on what words you think students are going to know, but also using this profiler. If you click on the table also, it tells you a percentage. So actually this introduction here is achieving 85% at A1. So Vocabulary Kitchen, Vocab Kitchen, if you do a Google search for it, you'll be able to use that profiler. It's free for now, for the profiler anyway. So that's good.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, so I'm just did Steve leading through the things here. Don't seem to have other questions, but can I pose a few of my own?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I've got a number actually that kind of came up, but so I'll just kind of. Okay, so no, sorry everybody who's watching here. It's kind of hard because I posted a lot of stuff here, or wrote a lot of stuff. Oh, so you came up with your idea like within the classroom kind of thing, and then you thought, okay, I want to turn this into something different. How from moving from, and let me put some context into this because I'm the kind of teacher that has a load of resources and I want to take them from here to where can I put it out, to a bigger audience than, only Facebook, kind of thing. I don't want to say only Facebook. I think it's, impressive that I have another question about social media, but now you're on Holoco, Marazen, Kinokuniya, Amazon. I'm kind of curious where you took it from, this is what I've done in the classroom, to taking it to, putting it out there to the world, the different iterations. In the very, very beginning, what did you do?
One way to do that is to build relationships with publishers through networking, but it's very difficult to make that first step into getting your work published by a publisher.
I would think. Yeah.
I've written for quite a few publishers, and the ways in were very different. For one of the bigger international publishers, I did a lot of review work where they're going to do a textbook and they send out units for teachers to critique. And then from there, I built up to doing online tests or the test maker CD or the workbook to the textbook. With graded reading, I've been lucky to...
Can I cut you off there?
Yeah.
So you built a rapport with publishers by doing work for them.
Yeah.
First. That's right.
With graded reading, luckily I have a good relationship with Darren, who's Halico, and he used to be at Macmillan. So he asked me to write graded readers for Macmillan. And then from there, when he developed his own company, Halico, it was a natural progression to follow him to Halico and write graded readers for him there. And the great thing about Darren, we can do more unusual things. Maybe like an international publisher will have a, mindset of we're only going to do this kind of reader. But with Darren, we've done the business readers, which are a set of 10 business readers which follow a student from getting a job and a 1 year in the company to me fulfilling my dream of writing horror stories, because I believe there wasn't enough horror in graded reading.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, because we often find, when I was a kid, I read lots of horror. I was a big Stephen King fan. And of course, young readers, one thing that developed my interest of reading was like, I've got to read, and you always felt a little bit like I shouldn't be reading this, so that really motivated me as a reader. So when I got into extensive reading, I found some of the material, it's very safe. And what got me interested in reading and I became an avid reader was the fact that I could read stuff like James Herbert, which was a little bit scary, and or Stephen King, which is a little bit scary, and maybe I shouldn't be reading this at my age. But that's what I love. So when I get feedback from students who have read my horror stories and went, that was scary, then it's like, yes. So having a publisher willing to take a risk on publishing something which maybe a mainstream publisher may not publish.
So Nate, do you mind if we go through one of the other posted questions and then see how much time we have left?
Whatever it is, dude, it doesn't matter what I mind. We're working together here.
Yeah. No, you said you had a number of questions, so I thought maybe we'd go to.
I do. Yeah. Please. Sorry. I do have other questions, actually. I have more now after Andy's comment.
So I had students who read through all the horror mysteries that I had too. They had their favorite and they read everything they could. And when you see that happen, that's very cool. Jim Ronald posted a question through teaching pragmatics over the past decade and self-disclosure. It's changed me quite a lot. I imagine your life skill focus impacts teachers and students too. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, for example, the X Reading platform, where a lot of our books are on X Reading, because I use that at one of my universities, I can sneakily read the reviews of my books or of the 10-way series, and we talk about motivating the team. When there's a very positive comment made on someone else's book, and I've come across it on 10 ways because I was just being nosy, I'll share it with the writer and say, oh, you've got to read this, there's really positive comments. And the thing is, the platform has now gone to Mongolia, Thailand, Indonesia. You're getting people reading the books all over the world, and I didn't think about this way, or I have stress and this has helped me to manage. In the hot off the press, I've just finished my 31 10 ways. Number 31 is going to be about dealing with loneliness, and it's something that I experienced during the pandemic. Luckily, my wife is now with me, but we were separated for 8 months. And I know that loneliness is a huge problem for everybody, but young people as well. So, I'm hoping with this new book, that people, you don't know the impact of the book, I'm hoping that someone reads it and goes, well, I don't have to be lonely. I could follow one of these ways and change my life. So, it's that what I love about the 10 Ways series is that it's not only about language learning, it's about learning about life. If a student hasn't thought about saving money, and just spends it, and then they've got nothing left. Or maybe there's a plan in the 10 ways to manage money, which gives them hope for the future, you know?
Maybe teachers too.
Yes.
Yeah, can I jump in? I was going to say that you just hit the loneliness thing. It's like we're all experiencing this thing in real time, right?
Yeah.
So, loneliness is something human beings obviously experience throughout our experience, right? But the pandemic now would be something everyone resonates with. And you mentioned like financial planning, right? I'm doing that with my grade 12 students, now not in a lot of great detail in the way that I would like to do it. But the way you've approached, the 10 ways is something that can apply to any facet of life, really, it seems to me. And that was one of my notes. So one of those questions checked off kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fascinating.
And there's something there for all readers, The thing about extensive reading is the reader should have the choice. So if they're going onto an e-platform and, okay, what should I read next? They might get into the 10 ways. And the thing about a series, and there's been research done about this, I think Leslie's mentioned this as well in some of her research. So I'll shout out to Leslie, who's one of our writers. A series motivates students to read more because they want to read the series. So the fact that there's 30 and soon to be 40 in this series, you could have a student who just reads the whole series, and how powerful is that? And what I've noticed with the writing, these 20 featured words that are outside of B1, they begin to repeat across books. Just by chance, we didn't plan it, but then so one of the ways for loneliness was reach out. And in my next book, which I'm going to start writing once I get some time for the next 10 ways, one of the ways is reach out again. So I was like, okay, I can reuse the word reach out. Then it goes across 2 readers. And so, with vocabulary learning, the more exposure you have to that word in different contexts, the more you learn it. So it was just by chance that these words tended to crop up across different books.
Yeah, it seems that you're finding like different connections in different ways that you can expand like the universe of what you're creating, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You've given me an idea actually that I'll talk to you after the broadcast.
Right.
Throw it out there, but we do should, or we don't have to kind of move on. Yeah, I've got a few questions that I think might not be relevant to the audience that's watching, kind of thing. And before handing it over to Steve to kind of give an extra for yourself, we will do a very short demo slam from Kunie and Steve and myself after this, but we will be posting Dr. Boone's links that he provides us. He will put it on Twitter, Facebook, and on our website. Before we get into the demo slams, though. Or actually, Steve, it seemed like you had a comment right there.
Nope, I think it just came out naturally in the conversation. I just wish we had had this presentation before I chose my textbooks for this year, because I've just gotten so many wonderful ideas. So how to use X reading, for example. And so we had a lot of difficulty this year. This is a perfect framework for the students to know how it works, and getting them to learn how to use X reading and how to do the reading and doing that online, to bring this to the online focus. Having that kind of structure would have been such a lifesaver this past year. So I personally have learned a lot from this presentation. So a little late, but there's always next year, and maybe I'll be able to work it in this year too. Were there any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, actually, all right. So I'm looking now, but I don't think we had any other questions. But I will actually piggyback on what you just said, Steve. I got some really good food for thought as well. Mm-hmm. So I kind of lost my chain of thought a moment ago. I had it about a minute ago. But the last word before we go into the demo slams goes to you, Dr. Boone. What would you like everyone to have as a takeaway from your presentation, your work, and that kind of thing?
That's a big question.
I know it is. I know, and we didn't prepare you for it. By the way, for everybody watching this,
that's all right. I think, I mean, for me personally, I always going back to my horror, I always wanted to be a horror writer, and I never thought I would achieve that. So now I've actually published my horror books, and I feel satisfied. But I think with graded readers, it's about motivating students because they've had such a negative experience of learning English in the past. It may be changing, but oh my God, I have to read English and then translate it into my own language. No, extensive reading is a way to motivate learners so that when they finish reading a book, they pick up another one. And that is powerful because if we can start students now reading at the A1 level, and then they read to the A2 level, B1, next minute, they're reading everything. And we don't know what our students will go on to be or go on to achieve in life. And it could start with that reader. You just never know the power. It could be one reader, and then this Japanese student goes on to create something that's going to change the world. And it all happened with this one reader. And that's a big dream. But, it's a good thing that we're doing. We never know the power of our actions in the classroom. We never know the power of a good book or a good teacher. And that's where I'll end.
Wow. That's a good place to end.
Wonderful final statement. So what we're going to do, well, first, thank you, Dr. Boone, for joining us. We really appreciate it. That was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Speaking for myself, but I'm sure I'm speaking for Kunie and Steve as well, and people that are going to watch this later on as well. We are going to shift into the demo slam. Part of what we do every time we do a broadcast. We want to do this in tandem with the theme of our guest speaker, right? So we're talking about literacy or understanding language and that kind of thing. It's not always an easy fit, and this is the first time we've had a guest speaker outside of our Google universe, which we want to do more of. So the fit might not be the best with our demo slams. It is technology oriented, but we hope people kind of appreciate what we're doing. So I'm going to we're going to share our screens, but I do believe their first demo slam is going to come from Kunie sensei.
デモスラム、はい。
はい。今、すみません、ずっと英語なんですけど。クニエさんは英語をすごい分かってるんだけど、やっぱり私も日本語をずっと聞くと。
ありがとうございました。はい、じゃあ、デモスラムでいいですか？
はい。
はい、じゃあシェアしていいですか？
はい。
どうシェアスクリーン。これかな。じゃあ、今日は Google のドキュメントで音声入力をしたいと思います。画面見えますか？見えてますか？はい。
見えます。
見えます。タイピングもできるんですけど、もちろんタイピングでやるときもあるんですけど、簡単に音声入力ができる方法は、ツールからこの音声入力っていうこのマイクのところをやります。ちょっと今逆のことをしてしまいます。そうするとこのマイクのマークが出るので、これを押して、今日はありがとうございました。楽しんでいただけたでしょうかっていう感じで、ちょっと漢字っていう字が違いますが、できました。はい、このように喋った言葉がそのままテキストに起こせることができるので、とても便利です。 皆さんも使ってみてください。はい、以上です。
おい。
はい、
本当になんか、大事なポイントは、言葉が喋れる。なんだけど、自分で書けないことが大事なんですよね。
Yeah.
What I really like about that accessibility tool is that, anyone can speak and they can see how they can write, they can speak how they write, if that makes any sense. I work with a number of students. I'm a history teacher, and I find that students often write in the way that they speak. So what, Kunie-san was just showing is that you can voice type. How would you write this? Well, okay, would you write it that way or do you speak it that way? It's a really good way to show students that they tend to write the way they speak sometimes. I think what, Kunie-san was showing is that you can use this tool. You can just speak for accessibility, which is quite good. I've had students that are extremely, they speak English very well, but they don't write it very well. And for them, that helps them, that tool. They can speak and then change the grammar and learn, to write in that way. It's a very, very important tool, I think. But we have to teach students how to use it.
Yeah.
Right? Have to, not a crutch, but teach them how to use it. Steve, I think you're up next.
Yes, in my situation, I'm in a group where we're doing intensive reading, not extensive reading, but we're choosing items in German that we're trying to read. And some of I've used Google Keep to import images and converting it into text, which you've seen here before. But we've had websites that are very hard to read with all of the ads and all the other stuff, all the junk. I shouldn't call ads junk because some of it might be useful. But let me share my screen and just show. I'm going to do the entire screen this time. I'm going to be brave.
Yay. Take those risks, people.
Yeah. And wait for it. Let's see. Just a moment, please. And here we go. Can you see the screen?
Yep, you're good.
So you see all the stuff around the screen. You see the ads on the right. You don't need to read. But you can see that if you copy pasted this, it would be in a format that would be very hard to read. But what you can do is you can take this is also an application, or you can do it online. I'm just going to show the online version. And you can go to the application called Print Friendly and PDF. And you can just slide in the URL that you want to use, and it strips away all the extra stuff. It takes a few seconds. Any issues, contact support. Thank you very much. But once this page is generated, you can send it, you can print it, you can save it as a PDF, you can email it. There are a lot of things you can play with it, but you can see that the format now is text that you can search. And in this format, you can search individual words easily. You can cut and paste, and it just makes the overall reading a lot easier. So we're not doing extensive reading in this case, but we're intensive reading. But we're making it easier to get at the text, which is part of what is something that gets in the way of reading. So that's it.
Yeah, and I love Print Friendly and PDF, just because you can take out the noise, the ads, but even the images and all that kind of stuff. I'm with you, Steve. I'm totally there. All right, so
I see you posted that it's a Chrome extension, so you can use the website, or you can use the extension, which I also have. I use Chrome exclusively pretty much now. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, no. Wait. This is how we roll. It's all good. I mean, we have to be natural here. So what I wanted to present, I don't have the pro version. I wanted to present something called Text Help, which is a great tool, a great app, but they've moved from being a freemium to almost a premium. So I decided not to do that. So I'm going to add on to, Kunie-san. Let me share my screen first.
Yeah.
Am I sharing here? No, I don't think you can. There we go. So you can see what I'm looking at right now. The story of April Fool's Day. Can you see that, folks?
Yep.
Great. All right. So I just want to show a couple of things in Google Docs that if your students are working in Google, that you can use or they can use to help their language development. I want to emphasize that it's important that that we as teachers explain to students that these are last minute efforts. You don't use this all the time. You don't translate, but you use these tools to learn a little bit more. So for example, if you go to Add-On, and Add-Ons are something in Google Docs that you can create, that make your Google Doc a little more functional. So a couple of the ones I want to show. Number one is One Look Thesaurus, right? And I don't know why that's saying install because I'm in the GEG Nagoya account. But this is good because, all right, so I'm going to click install. Then click install again, click continue. Choose the account. And then you allow it. It's a very simple process to get it. And the thing is, what I find, even I teach at an international school, so I have students that are not, for example, speakers of English from a country that is predominantly English. Are you proficient in English, or are you a native speaker? I don't buy into the native speaker thing. So this is good for anyone who is learning English, I think. So, for example, you can look at these add-ons, One Look Thesaurus. If I was to take the word here, victim, I tap on that, I go to add-on, I go to One Look Thesaurus, and I look for synonyms. Because I might say victim, 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 because that's the word I know. Well, now I've got this thesaurus that's going to give me a few different, examples. Now, dupe works. It's highlighted in yellow. The rest, you could pray, fatality, woman. Women are victims, actually, as well, I think, in many ways. But that's one add-on that you can use. And another add-on is Text Help Study Skills. Now, Text Help, I'll say, okay, I have to install it. So I'm going to do that. So as I install, I'll say Text Help Study Skills. Text Help is a company that they help you read web pages, Google Docs, Apple Docs, and things like that. However, it was free. Now it's not quite a freemium in my point of view. You only get the very basic minimum, but I do think in the Docs version, the Text Help Study Skills is actually useful. So Text Help in some contexts is not so good, but this one I think is good. So show highlighting tools. So I've added on to my Google Doc Text Help Study Skills. And so now I've got this range of things that I can do. So myself as a learner or myself as a teacher that I want to share with students, I can click on highlight yellow, for example. All right, so I got to highlight first human beings. And then I click highlight yellow. And so if I went to, say, for example, I'm not very good with the construction of language. Let's say has been. Highlight blue. All right, so if I was a teacher of the construction of the English language, I could say, all right, everybody, things in yellow those are nouns. I know human beings, maybe human and beings could be separated, but things in blue are whatever that construction of the English language is. So you could use this as a teacher, and then you could actually go to File, download in PDF, save it, and unless this has changed, I think the story of April Fool's Day, you got it right there in a PDF document where the yellow means this, and then the blue or the aqua means that. So I'm going to stop right there. So that's my slam. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we're at the point where we're winding down the show, which has gone longer than expected, but we had some awesome stuff. So let's, Steve, you brought Dr. Boone to us, so maybe you can give a couple of parting words. And again, Dr. Boone, since you're still with us, you do get the last word.
Well, the parting words are what I said before. This was even better than I expected. I learned a lot. I know a little bit about extensive reading. I know about X reading, and I came away learning a lot, and technologically too, how I can use it in my classroom. So thank you very much for your presentation today. And if you have any last words, I shouldn't say it that way. Any parting words, things to walk away with?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure to talk today and to see you and meet you as well, for some of you. And thank you very much. It's been great. So thank you
very much. Okay.
英語の勉強をします。アンディ・ブーン先生の本で。
はい。
Amazon で買いました。さっき
はい。よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございました。はい。
Okay.
じゃあ、